Well, then get your shit together. Get it all together and put it in a backpack. All your shit. So it's together. And if you gotta take it somewhere, you know? Take it to the shit store and sell it. Or put it in a shit museum. I don't care what you do. You just gotta get it together. Get your shit together.
Hey, everybody. Marc from Big Apple Hockey right now. I figured I'd start it all up instead of just being in the chat with you. Waiting on Anthony and Phil to join any minute right now. We have got a lot we're going to be talking about. Well, for starters, oh, sorry, that flashed Anthony's name, not mine. Speaking of which, here is Mr. LaRocco. And Anthony, literally, I just hit the go live button, so you didn't miss anything. All right, but I, of course, am your host, Mark Williams, who already made a mistake, joined by the fourth period's Mr. Anthony LaRocco.
Yeah, it's a hell of a game last night. You just kind of had the feeling that the Rangers were going to win, being that they're, 5-6-0 in overtime this playoffs. But Panthers got a much-needed win, and now we have an even series headed back to MSG.
Anthony, it's kind of shocking to me. It seems like everyone has forgotten that Florida is the defending Eastern Conference champions and that they had, 111 points? 110?
Yeah.
It's almost like you can't figure out why Florida has been playing well in these games. So, because I need to drill this into the fan base before we even start out. There's another team on the ice. I know when people are, everybody right now, very hard on a lot of players. And you know what? I'm not saying you don't have any right to be. But it's just, there's another team on the ice. And their game plan is working real well. And the funny thing is, no matter how well it's working, they're still tied at 2 with home ice advantage. Yeah, you know what?
Yeah,
it's not making excuses.
It's not. Sometimes you have to look deeper into it, and Gore's really kind of spot on there. The Rangers are fortunate to be tied 2-2, as you mentioned, going back home. They've gotten caved in the last 2 games, with the exception of the first period last night. Florida has dominated these last 2 games. And yes, you're tied in back home, but if you're a Ranger fan, the way Florida has played the last 2 games is worrisome. I mean, the Rangers haven't generated all that much. Mika Zibanejad, Chris Kreider have 0 points this series. Artemi Panarin has 3 points. All helpers. He hasn't exactly been a factor in this series. So, when you kind of add up that the Rangers best players aside from Igor Shesterkin haven't showed up, and Barclay Goodrow has been one of your best players, there's cause for a little bit of cause for concern there. However, we did see when the Rangers lost 2 in a row to Carolina, there was some worry, and they battled back and eventually won. So same thing may happen here. But the thing is that it's not sustainable for them to be relying on Igor Shesterkin when their big guns aren't performing. Because eventually you got to figure the dam's going to break. Igor may just be average one night, and if the big guys don't show up, that will be another loss. So
okay, so yes. Let me throw a different scenario at you. Going out that one. So does everybody want Mika Zibanejad to come out with a hat trick in Game 5 and they still lose? Look. Again, guys, look, we're going to be talking. We're going to be talking about this right now. This is our A block, by the way, but this is the ideas that have been thrown around on Rangers Twitter and Rangers fan reactions, and even some of the stuff that I'm seeing in the comments, guys. They're tied at 2. No matter how you want to say it, that the series hasn't exactly gone the Rangers' way as far as play wise goes. Absolutely. I'll agree with you on that. But you're telling me they're not playing well. They're going back home with a 2-2 tie, best of 3. Like, wouldn't you take that?
Well, of course.
No, they were supposed to win. They're supposed to win last night. They're supposed to win every single game. I don't. This is a fan base. I understand we're New Yorkers, guys. We gotta. It was sounding like the Rangers were the worst team in the league when they lost game 5. And then they come out. Yeah, it looked like they were going 7 versus Carolina. Okay, I'm right there with you. Then suddenly they don't, because that's what this team is. They're literally shift to shift a different team. They were getting dominated in game 6, and they were able to come back. Yes, guys, they're all fortunate, but that's also why we're here to break it down for you and to talk about it instead of look, the sky is falling. Like, we had somebody on our post game show the other day when the Rangers won in overtime that said, you think that they got creamed 7-1. Instead, fans, we're not ones to hold the pom-poms. We're going to call balls and strikes. But I mean, some of this, yeah, well, that's how. First off, by the way, lucky we got one on the road. They were down 1-0. They went up 2-1, tied 2-2. They never trailed in the game after they scored the first. After they tied it in the first period. So it's little things like that. Florida's getting more shots. Florida's better than Carolina, but also Carolina. They were supposed to take the Rangers to 7-2. There's a reason why all of us have said this is going 7 games. It's just my mind is starting to hurt a little bit from this, Anthony.
Well, I mean, I think what you're maybe discounting a little bit is that it's not the way they're playing right now isn't necessarily sustainable for winning a series. Yes, they're tied, but relying on your goaltender to stand on his head every single night while your best players do their best impression of a ghost and, disappear, eventually the dam's going to break and the bottom's going to fall out, and that's not a recipe for winning. And that's what I think.
Okay, yes, you just said that, Anthony.
Are expressing their concerns here is that if that continues, it's eventually they're going to lose, because again, it's not sustainable to win playoff hockey games that way when you just have your goaltender and a fourth line player going for you, and then Lafreniere. I mean, that's really that. Those 3 players, Igor, Lafreniere, and Goudreau,
you forgot about Trocheck.
Trocheck is playing good. Those players are the guys that are solely responsible for this series being 2-2. And I think a lot of Ranger fans have some fear right now that if this trend, the last 2 games continues, they're going to lose the series. Because whether you want to admit it or not, you're not going to beat the Florida Panthers with Mika Zibanejad, Chris Kreider having 0 points, and Artemi Panarin not being the Panarin that you want him to be. You're just not going to beat the Panthers when that's occurring. So
okay, can Mika Zibanejad score any less than 0 goals?
What?
Can Mika Zibanejad score any less than 0 goals?
No, he can't score less than 0 goals.
Okay, so that's the one. So Chris Kreider can't score any less than 0. Artemi Panarin can't score any less than 0. So if they start getting any contribution from them and they can keep up the play that they've been having, that's what everybody should be looking at. There are fans, Anthony, you saw the text thread last night. There are fans already talking about trading Mika Zibanejad. And I was talking about this on Twitter before about there are fans that are actually in my Twitter thread that are saying buy out Zibanejad. No. He has a no move clause. You're wedded to him. You got to figure out how to work this out. And yes, it's just like the Rick and Morty thing. Get it together, because that's the thing. Look, in this series, you can't have Barclay Goudreau outscoring Mika Zibanejad and tying Artemi Panarin. The good thing is Adam Fox has got 3 points. He hasn't done anything in the playoffs up until right now. But again, guys, the problem, look, but that's the way they're built. They're built to bend but not break.
Yeah, I can't necessarily say I mean what you're essentially saying is you're going to rely on for the status quo to stay the same, and the Rangers to get by that way. And chances are the status quo is not going to stay the same, because Florida is too skilled of a team. Eventually they're going to get to Igor, and that's not a knock on Igor. He's a great goalie, but he's going to get burnt out playing the way he's playing, with him essentially carrying the team. If the star players on the Rangers don't start to support him more, they're going to lose the series. I don't care what you say. They're not winning the series with Mika Zibanejad and Chris Kreider playing the way they are. They're not.
And right. I don't think it's going to be the case either. I think they're actually going to get contributions.
Well, they better. They got to, because they're fortunate to be tied right now. I think that's what the sentiment is from a lot of Ranger fans. They're fortunate to be tied. I mean, if Barclay Goodrow didn't decide to act like he's Artemi Panarin, the Rangers are probably down 3-1 right now. So it's best of now. It's essentially best of 3. 2 out of those 3 games are going to be at home. Those are all pluses. But the Rangers' star players have to pick their shit up if they want to win the series.
I mean, if you're going to ask me what a bigger problem is it Mika Zibanejad or is it Jacob Trouba? It's by far Jacob Trouba. There is no contest on that one. Jacob Trouba's got 3 assists in the series. He's also a -1, which somehow he's only a -1. He's got 8 penalty minutes. He was on the ice for the game-winning goal last night. Did you see the replay of the game-winning goal, Anthony?
Yeah, so I have no idea what he was trying to do there, but it was a poor decision going up that high. Because he went up.
That's not a poor decision. That is lack of discipline. That is bad defense. A peewee coach would be yelling at him right now because he opened up the lane to go right to Reinhart, and if it doesn't hit Shesterkin, it's in the net. That's how simple that is. And he's a captain of the New York Rangers.
Yeah, he's not good, but you're clearly stuck with him and his $8 million. I don't see a team banging down the door to trade for Jacob Trouba anytime soon.
That you could first off, you could reduce his salary by 50%, get him off your books at least. I mean, that's a possibility. His no move clause has clauses in it. He's got to provide 16 teams. So that's a different story. And even a buyout option is all right for a guy with 1 year left on his deal. But Anthony, I mean, some of the comments I'm seeing, look, I'm completely off our timeline on everything, and we're going to get Phil's opinion, and Phil is going to go off on this, but it's just some of these things. Oh, we got to move on from them. Good. How are you moving on from them? There's no way you're moving on from them. Zibanejad's got a no move clause to 29-30, and it's a full no move. And if you want to approach him and see if he wants to leave, oh, good for you. My answer would be go back on the horse you rode in on, because you're telling me the place where he settled, and then you'll be like, we can't win with you. So now we want to trade you to Utah. It ain't happening.
First off here, and thank you, Lou. You got a great name, by the way. Lou's a solid name. First, the Rangers aren't trading Mika Zibanejad. That's not going to happen. But what I will disagree with you on is, just because you have a no movement clause doesn't mean that a player won't waive it. What player would want to stay in a place where he's not wanted? Similar to Mitch Marner with the Maple Leafs, how they approached that this offseason. If a front office comes to you and says, listen, we want to move on from you, I don't think there's any player that's going to sit there and say, nope, I'm staying, even though you don't want me. I think they'll want to go somewhere where they'll want it, and they'll give the team, 5-6 teams or whatever it is that they would go to, and they would move on. So I don't think Zibanejad would tell them to go scratch if they asked him to waive. If they really expressed to him they wanted to move him, I think there are plenty of other places in the National Hockey League where he'd be happy living and playing hockey. So I don't think that's the case. However, it goes back to square one. It's moot, though, because I highly doubt the Rangers would move Zibanejad.
Right. So we'll start with that one. We'll go to Artemi Panarin. Maybe there's a conversation there because he's still $11.5 million. I think right now he's squeezing sawdust out of the stick because every single time he gets the puck, he needs to get that perfect shot right down the middle. It's not happening. You're in the playoffs, Bubby. You gotta, or Bubby, you gotta go and fire that puck whenever you can, because you might not get that opportunity. Vinny Trocheck hesitated last night in the third period, and it cost him a chance at giving the Rangers the lead. There were a couple different opportunities like that. Now, look, and again, I'm not defending these guys as far as their play goes. I'm saying there's another team on the ice. And right now, yes, Igor Shesterkin, yeah, Barkov is dominating Zibanejad. And when he's not dominating him, Trocheck is the guy they're putting on Barkov, and that's his assignment is Panarin anyway. So that's why Panarin being open, they're defending Panarin, double teaming is giving extra space to Lafreniere and to Vinny Trocheck. I don't buy, by the way, 100% the narrative that Florida outplayed them grossly in Game 3 to the point of, oh well, what are they going to do? The third period, all Florida. I have no problem saying that. And the shot attempts, look, the Rangers blocked a lot, and some of it didn't get through. But that's how you have to win games in the playoffs. You got to muck it up. Your bottom six has got to come up there. This isn't a video game, people. This is the reason why depth is important. It would be nice if there was something more out of the third line. Let's be honest about that, because it's only got one goal since in this series. But I mean, I'm fielding questions today about buying out players. They're still tied 2-2 in this series. So in other words,
that's going to happen because people are frustrated, and that's normal. I think that would happen with any team. I mean, you Maple Leaf fans are trying to run out numerous players from the roster because of what happened. So that's normal. You can't be bothered by it. It is what it is. You just sit there and you know, if you want, ignore it. But the fact remains is that you can't hide from the fact that these guys are underperforming, and if they continue to underperform and the status quo stays the same, the Florida Panthers might be moving on to the Cup final. Because again, I don't think the Rangers are gonna end up beating them if this last two games, if it stays the same going forward.
Anthony,
that's just.
And Anthony, let me ask you this: at the beginning of the season, if I told you that the New York Rangers would be the best team in hockey and they'd fall in the conference finals to the Florida Panthers, I understand you might say that's a loser's mentality to go, you had a good season. They've had a good season. Anybody that wants to say it's only look, cup or bust, fine. Look, they're trying to get there, but I mean, a lot of the talk also is Zibanejad doesn't give a shit, or Zibanejad this, that. I can tell you one thing: I know the guy because I only met him once, but still. But even at that, talked to him for a few minutes, and he said, "I'm sorry, I have to leave. I got to go concentrate." This is right before Game 4 versus Tampa. By the way, they still lost that series, guys. And I don't think he had a point the rest of the way. But it's something that the game they will get. They've been in the Eastern Conference. You know, opportunities like this don't come around so often. So in other words, it's such a cope. Fine. Then don't watch the next couple games.
Marc,
I'll call you when they're in the Stanley Cup Finals.
I think the players, the players in the locker room, fans and players are different. The players inside that locker room will say that this year was an abject failure if they lose, because the goal is cup or bust. So
the goal is always the cup.
Yeah, so if they lose, the players will tell you in their exit interviews, I'm sure they'll say it, that nothing they did mattered because they fell short of the ultimate goal. So that part is true. I mean, for fans' perspective, it's a little different. Yeah, if they lose, you could still say they had a good year because it's true, they had a great year. But you want to win the Stanley Cup, and that's why the guys in that room will tell you that if they don't, it's a failure despite everything that happened. And that's the right mentality.
Go ahead.
And that's the right mentality to have. If you're telling me hypothetically, if the Panthers eliminate the Rangers and Artemi Panarin says on breakup day, "Oh well, I'm happy with the season we had, and we had a great season, and we just fell short." I would want him kicked off my team instantly if that.
Oh yeah, I agree with you on that.
So no, it's for the players in that room. It's a failure if they don't win the cup. That's what it needs to be viewed as. Again, fans, it's a little different. Fans, you could say, yeah, we had a good year. But for the players, no, it's cup or bust.
But again, the fan reaction that I'm getting is the same thing after Game 5. You're already ready for disappointment in Game 7. Like, what happens if Trouba, if Zibanejad, you're going to go shotless. Yeah, well, Rick, you're right about that. And part of that has to do with the Florida Panthers. The Rangers did that to the Panthers in Game 2, too. They did it to them in the last game of the regular season. And look, The Rangers, the one thing every fan has got the right to be mad about was what happened in game one. The Rangers were not prepared. That is on everyone. But yeah, and again, it's Igor's prime years. They wasted it just like Henrik's, 30 years of frustration. Yeah, I was 16 the last time they won a cup. So, but it's just, you got to look at what's going forward and where are the positives. And you also got to look at, and yeah, you can look at the negatives too. I mean, I have no problem looking at this and going, at least their guys are showing up. Yes, but again, everybody is just going, oh, it's already, the overwhelming sensation is everybody's saying it's already over. Already over.
Mark, that's just New York sports fans. New York sports fans, they're passionate. Can't hold that against them. That's just how it goes. And
yeah, but that's why they need us.
The Rangers still very well could win the series, but at the same time, Ranger fans don't want to hear people who cover their team sugarcoat things either. In which I love you to pieces, but you're sugarcoating some things right now. The Rangers aren't playing well. The Panthers' top players are better than their top players. Barkov, Verhaeghe, Reinhart, Bennett. They're all performing at a very high level.
Well, Bennett hasn't really done anything except that one goal.
Yeah, but he's a solid player and contributes in other ways. Whereas like Panarin's not contributing on anything right now, other than away from the puck. He's been invincible. So
yes,
the Panthers' top players are getting the best of the Rangers' top players, with the exception of Igor. I would say is outplaying Bobrovsky, but other than that, man, the Panthers are on that side of the room. I would say their fans are probably upset because they feel they deserve to be up 3-1 at least, and they have a right to say that because frankly, I mean, in my opinion, I would think some Ranger fans would agree with me. The Panthers probably should be up 3-1 right now. They controlled a lot.
All of them. I would agree with you.
They controlled a lot of the play, but that's just how sports goes. So yeah, the Rangers are fortunate to be in a 2-2 series right now, and now they have a huge opportunity to win a big Game 5 at home, and hopefully they could do it.
But again, are you looking at this at all and just thinking that there's ways for them to win this game? Or is it just simply they need to go in, settle down? Laviolette's got to get through some video with them because their power play, it started to come alive yesterday, Anthony. That's the first thing I have to say about that. Everybody wants to get against Kreider and Zibanejad. Zibanejad hits the crossbar. And a matter of fact, in live time, I thought it bounced behind the line. It bounced on the line and then scooted out. But it's one of those things. That's where you have to get your coach to figure out how to utilize these players. And Laviolette, you heard of the press conference that was afterwards. The effort wasn't good enough, and he's judging that. Now, the effort also, the Panthers had to come out and win that game, and they showed it. 26 shots in the final 2 periods versus, I believe, only 10 for the Rangers, off the top of my head. But even at that, the Panthers are getting all these numbers, and the Rangers are still with them step by step by step. Look, if I'm not saying the Rangers are playing like they did against the Capitals, where they were clearly the better team the entire time, but I am telling you this: I do think that the Rangers, everybody's so down on them right now. I don't think it's as far away from that series as it is. And yes, I've said this in my previews, guys. Igor is the ultimate deodorant. So and right now you got a goalie that's got a .931 save percentage. Usually you ask how many games you won it in, not what's going on. Bobrovsky's done very well too. I think it was game 2 he was at his best. So yeah, am I sugarcoating this a little bit? Yeah, but I also, and we got Filkin, he's not going to hold back on this. And I just the mentality of, oh, all right, everything needs a change is not going to happen either. Because you got fans that are right now trying to call for Matt Rampe on the first line. Like, what are we thinking? Sorry, Anthony, you go ahead.
No, I was gonna say before Phil takes over, you gotta not put too much stock. You can't let it bother you what outlandish things fans are saying. Buy out this guy, trade this guy. Again, it's New York sports. New York sports fans are passionate. They lead with their heart. When things are high, they're ecstatic. When things are low, it's the sky's falling. So you just tune that out. You don't focus on that. Focus on what's actually happening on the ice. And right now, the Panthers have probably outplayed them for the last two games. But like I said, they're tied 2-2 going back home, and they have a good opportunity to get their game back on track. Phil, take it over.
Yeah, we cede our time to you, Mr. Filkowski.
I mean, game two I thought was pretty evenly played. I mean, if you want to give Florida the edge, I guess. I mean, it reminds me of the Carolina series in a lot of the aspects that there's a lot of low shot quality chances from the outside, and they're possessing the puck for probably more of the time. But the grade A chances are not that far off between these two teams. Yeah, we'll get to that in a minute. But I mean, like game two and game three, if you look at Stephen Valakat's analytics, they tell you that the quality in middle, the high danger and mid danger chances are very close. There's a disparity in the low danger chances between the two teams, heavily in favor of Florida, and that's really what it's been. I mean, and now everybody's talking about shot attempts and so on. Yeah, I mean that tells you that one team has the puck a lot more than the other, but what does that matter if you're not putting high quality danger chances on net? And that's the biggest thing. The Rangers did a very good job of lowering, keeping those numbers very low in the first, I would say, 3 games outside of period 3 in game 3. Period 3 in game 3 may be the worst period I think I've ever seen them play, but it was also Igor Shesterkin's best period ever because he was what got them to overtime in game 3. In terms of game 4, the Rangers were the better team in the first period, and by far. And if you look at the shot attempts after the first period, Florida, I think, had maybe 2 or 3 shot attempts that entire period. Rangers dominated them in the first. And if not for a couple of posts and a couple of misses, they would have had a 3, maybe 4-0 lead at the end of one if they converted on some of these other chances. So, I mean, looking at it in the second period was where they kind of just fell off. And then the third period, they started to come back. The real issue is here, aside from the officiating, which was just atrocious, I don't know how many times Florida's going to get away with murder. I really don't. I don't. I mean, the Blake Wheeler knee on knee, that was terrible. It should have been called. The Kako trip, the punch to Trouba's face, and the Zibanejad haul down by Forsling, all within a minute and change of each other, don't get called, but the penalty on Wheeler gets called in overtime? Come on.
Well, still, on that one, he's hooking him on a breakaway. I can't stop that one.
But still, 3 just as bad, egregiously bad calls don't get called in the final minute. What, because you're swallowing the whistle? My point is, if you're going to swallow the whistle, swallow it both ways. Just consistent across the board. Sure, these penalties are penalties all in a vacuum, but you can't call one for one side and then not call it for the other. That's the problem I have there. With that said, Zibanejad and Kreider have to be so much better than what they've been. 0 points in this series, and Zibanejad with a terrible turnover in overtime. I don't know what he was thinking there. Just dump that puck in. The reason why they won the 2 overtime games that they won was because they were so patient and cashed in on their opportunities when they had the chance to do so. And you know what? You can't make plays like that in overtime. You can't. It put Wheeler in a bad position. With that said, I don't think you could put Blake Wheeler back in the lineup. I don't think he was good enough. I don't think he's fast enough to stay with this team. And I don't think he played bad. I just think that there's a certain level of speed that you have to play with in this series. And I get they want more physical play. Jack Roslovic probably deserves to be scratched with the lack of play off the puck and the lack of fight. But Zibanejad and Kreider have been just as bad. They've been arguably worse. You need to be better than this. And I understand Barkov is doing his job, and he's a 2-time Selke winner, and he's great. Yeah, credit to Florida, credit to Barkov, but there has to be more of a fight. Chris Kreider showed that he can absolutely take over a game in Game 6 against Carolina, a team that's almost as good as Florida. You want to say Florida's better? Fine, fair. I probably would agree with that. But why isn't Chris Kreider showing up in this series? Why isn't Mika Zibanejad fighting through and playing harder? Why are they avoiding contact? Why are they not giving those efforts that you know that they can give? And yeah, I get it. They're going to go back to the Garden for Game 5, and they're going to be able to get away from that matchup. But then you're going to have to deal with it again in Game 6. And I know you get home change in Game 7, which is why we wanted the President's Trophy, why you want the Eastern Conference, why you want home ice through. But you can't rely on this. Your guys have to come through. Like in 94, their big thing was, if we're going to do this, we're going to face these demons head on. Messier talking about the curse. In the Stanley Cup Finals, when they lost Game 6, Keenan didn't want to take them back to New York right away and didn't want to expose them to the media. No, Messier said, we're going back there. If we're going to do this, we're going to look the media and deal with everything and take it like the men that we are and deal with everything head on. This is what this team has to do here. They have to start dealing with these things head on, start playing better, start giving more of a fight, and start playing like they care, because right now it's just not good enough. It's not. You can't go 0 points combined in a series, be a minus player, and turn pucks over in overtime that lead to penalties and the power play goals against. So it's got to be there. This is why I said that this series right here would test what this core is made of. And right now is going to be gut check time. It's a best of 3 now. So if these guys can step up and win it all, win this series, maybe they can win it all. But I have my doubts, because I've just seen 2 guys that look defeated at the top of the lineup, getting God knows how many minutes a game, 20 minutes a game, and they're not doing anything with it. So let's see what these next 3 games give us. I hope I'm wrong about that, but they need to be a hell of a lot better than what they've been, because I see all the stuff going around about Panarin. Panarin's a point-per-game player, and he had 2 assists in that last game. He's at least giving them some offensive production. The 2 guys that are supposed to be the all-around players, that are supposed to put up points, be matchup guys, and be good defensively, they haven't done any of that this series.
And and by the way, Phil, I'm glad you brought up the 94 comparisons. Everybody is so devoted to the 94 comparisons. Keep in mind, Adam Graves, until Game 7, I don't think he scored in 10 games before that. Messier in the conference finals before the hat trick didn't score a goal in that series. You had to get production from your bottom 6. So some of the things Anthony is saying is right. It's not sustainable. Your stars need to show up, but you also need your bottom 6 to produce, and that's how you end up winning. I mean, hell, Anthony, you saw it. The Islanders, when they went to 2 straight conference finals, they had to rely on their people that weren't Matt Barzal, and they were able to get it. And they were guys that weren't just Brock Nelson. And when they did show, they showed up great. So it's something. Your depth guys are there to keep you treading water, and then your stars can come in. Hopefully they figure it out. We'll find out about that soon enough. Let's go, guys. Let's go quickly over to the Western Conference Finals. Well, we still got you here right now, Anthony. I know time's going to get short. Game 4 is tonight. Edmonton versus Dallas. Dallas leads the series 2-1. Jason Robertson had a hat trick in a comeback win. Anthony, let me start with you. What's your thoughts right now on the West?
I mean, I think it's going about how I expected. I think we all picked Dallas. I mean, Edmonton has played well, certainly. I think Stuart Skinner has given the Oilers a chance to win. But I think Dallas's depth is just starting to come through. I mean, Jason Robertson showed up in a big way with a hat trick, and I mean, Hintz is back, and if Robertson really gets going, and Hintz, finds his game, and Wyatt Johnson keeps playing the way he's playing, and I know Stankoven got hurt for a little bit. I'm not sure if he ended up coming back to finish that game, but combined with all the other guys they have and Ottinger in goal and their defense, I think Dallas is just going to kind of run away with the series from here on out. But I'll give credit to the Oilers. I thought they've played Dallas hard. They've been physical. They tried to make it really hard on our top players in the corners, but ultimately, I just think Dallas's depth is good. Like I said when we kind of previewed the series, it's just going to be a little too much, and they're going to prevail. But for sure, goes without saying, this is a pivotal game for Edmonton. I mean, if Edmonton loses this game, they're done, because then you're talking going back to Dallas. That Stars the chance to close it out. I would say it's over, but huge game tonight for Edmonton, and kudos to Skinner, because I thought he's played a little better than I expected him to.
Phil?
I'm actually surprised that Edmonton has been close in all these games. I just didn't think that they would be able to handle Dallas at all, and I thought these would be kind of like runaway games. But, I mean, Edmonton won the first one in overtime. They had the second one in the bag and kind of lost it. And then the third one was a little more of a runaway game for Dallas. But, I mean, it still wasn't that bad. I mean, Rupe Hintz is probably going to be the difference in this series. And that's why I said I thought this would go 6, because I didn't know if Rupe Hintz was coming back in the series. Ends up coming back last game, and it's different now. I mean, the numbers for Robertson with and without Hintz are night and day. They really are. So this is a big boost for probably Dallas's best forward. Wyatt Johnston continues to play great hockey for them. I think they have the advantage in net. I mean, has Miro Heiskanen been on the ice for a goal against? Because I know, I think at the start of this series, he hadn't been, if I remember correctly. So it seems like he just does not let up goals when he's on. He's playing at another level defensively right now. This Dallas team is deep. They are just so deep, and you're seeing why they were as good as they were. I think they were, second in the league behind the Rangers in terms of points. Mm-hmm. So it's just a lot of depth. And, yeah, Heiskanen is playing 30 minutes a game. He's just so good. He's so good. But it's Dallas is really it seems like it's starting to swing in their favor. But I'm not going to sleep on McDavid and Draisaitl. I'm not going to. And they could get going at any time, and they can give any defender in the world problems. And I know McDavid's probably playing through some sort of injury. We don't know what it is, but he's playing through something. He looks like he's getting healthier as the series goes along. If that's weird to say, I get it, but he's looked better. He looks like he's competing harder as the games go along. It's just a matter of, can Skinner not let up bad goals, because he has a propensity to do so, and can their depth scoring come out and be as effective as it was against Vancouver, because their depth scoring was key for them in that series. I mean, can guys like McLeod and Derek Ryan and start putting in some goals here and there to help the big guns out? Can Evander Kane turn on the switch and all of a sudden start lighting up start putting the puck in the back of the net? Because if he gets going, that's going to cause a problem for Dallas. But again, I think this is going surprisingly better for Edmonton than I thought it would to this point.
I think what's most surprising is how Edmonton has come out the last 2 games. How they have dominated the first period entirely. Yeah. And it makes you look at Dallas and go, well, Dallas is Dallas might be like, all right, we're not gonna win tonight. Then they pop the first goal in, they get momentum, and then, well, in game 2 they only needed the one to tie it, and they were able to hold them at bay. But and then Marchment scores the game winner in the third period. Game 3, Robertson gets 2 goals to tie it, and then that Wyatt Johnson goal. Look, he's producing, but also that's a little bit of Keystone Cops, where the 2 Edmonton players run into each other, puck squirts over to him, and he just has to put it in an empty net.
Yeah,
But
place, right time.
Yeah, right place, right time, and sometimes luck is residue of design. But it's one of those things. This is just where you see Dallas's depth, and that they're just wearing them down. They're coming at you all the time, just in waves. And Edmonton, look, as far as Skinner goes, he's played good, but then he lets up the Stuart Skinner goal, where it took a lot of talent for Robertson to wait him out and then kind of pop the puck behind him. But I mean, that's what you got to do right there. It's he had no other play. It's a bank shot. You never want to see bank shots go in if you're a goalie, because after all, that's a soft goal. Anthony, Edmonton, do they win tonight, or does Dallas go back 3-1?
I'm going to say Dallas goes up 3-1. I think Edmonton, like Phil said, you can't count on McDavid and Draisaitl. They could take games over. But I think Edmonton really threw one of their best shots at Dallas last game when they had the lead. They were playing good, and then it kind of all fell apart. I don't know what the feeling in that room is. I'm sure the hell it's 2-1 series. They certainly still believe they can win, but I think Edmonton might not have a whole lot left in the tank. I know you can make the case that Dallas had to go through a gauntlet to get here. They played some really good teams in Vegas, but I just think Dallas is going to take the commanding 3-1 lead tonight.
Phil?
This is tough. I fully expect Edmonton to come out guns ablaze. I really do. Their ability to hold on to the lead these last two games is worrisome, though. I got to go Dallas takes a 3-1 lead in this series. I mean, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but something tells me that Dallas is, with Hintz back, that's just like a shot in the arm. You talk about feelings in the locker room, which is actually a real good point from Anthony. If Edmonton, even if their morale is high, how high do you think Dallas's morale is right now with getting Hintz back and getting that win? Like, they have to be on cloud 9 right now. And I don't think they come out overconfident. I think they understand the mission. I think a lot of their guys have been there before. Obviously, they went to the finals in the bubble. But this is a really deep team that understands the mission and has experience. And I think Hintz is a huge, huge shot in the arm. So I'm going to go Dallas goes up 3-1 tonight.
I think that is.
I got to agree
Anthony,
with Ella. All right, I'll
take
talk
it
to you
easy.
guys.
We'll see you later.
See you later.
Guys, we're gonna have a lot more coverage on the other series right now in a second. But I think Edmonton is gonna come out desperate. I would not be surprised if they won this game. I picked Dallas in 5, so I have to stick with that prediction right now. All right. Guys, we're going to just take a quick message from DraftKings, and then it's off to some NHL Bar Talk. Although, Phil, did you get to see my the Simpsons video on the Edmonton series?
No.
It's a nice little Simpsons moment. It's this one.
Brown throws in front. They score!
Oh, why am I bothering? It's hopeless.
By Ekholm. Robertson with it again. Shoots. Knocked down by Skinner. Puck is loose. Flip towards the net. They score! Robertson again! Final minute of the period. Score! Go through. Robertson does as well. And then Liddell breaks the stick on the shot attempt. Kept alive by the Stars. Here's Robertson. Looks to bank it in. He scores!
Yeah, basically a quick summation of Game 3 right there.
I thought you did a Rangers Florida one like that, but then again, I did see that video.
Yeah, all right. Well, guys, we're going to do a quick message from DraftKings and then do some bar talk, and then we're going to talk more about the Rangers-Florida series to finish out the night. So let's get that done. Hockey fans light the lamp this winter with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. New customers can bet just $5 pregame money line on any NHL team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they do. If that wasn't enough excitement, you can turn small bets into bigger payouts with same-game parlays. Combine multiple bets like which team will win, how many goals will be scored, and more for your shot at an even bigger payout. Download the DraftKings Sports app now. Use promo code THPN. Bet $5 on any NHL team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they do. Only at the DraftKings Sportsbook with code THPN.
Shot. This is the easiest I've ever to answer.
I'm going to say beer. I can't even begin to describe.
I'm actually going to go crazy. I'm going to buy everybody around on this one. And welcome back, everybody, to Big Apple Hockey's Bar Talk. We're gauging our confidence on NHL topics based on our choice of drink. So confident you're buying around for everybody? So I'll have a beer. Oh, dear God, just give me a shot. And, of course, there'll be plenty of layups right now. So we'll get that for you guys. But don't forget, you could also get Big Apple Hockey. Shirts are available. Link is in the description. So the last two times, Phil, the Rangers were in this position, the Eastern Conference Finals. They were tied 2-2, both to a team from Florida, and both against the Lightning. Neither one had the series that really Ranger fans would really want in the end. But how good has this series been so far? Because I'm asking you this question. The Rangers Panthers will be a legacy series regardless of the outcome. Like it's one we will talk. I tried to shorten it to keep it into one word, but it's one we're going to talk about, like Rangers Devils in '94.
Beer? I don't know. I don't know how I could really even answer that question right now at this point. I really don't have an answer there. I'm sorry.
Okay. I mean, it's already got 3 straight overtime games. I mean, I guess I can understand your point on this one. I was trying to scratch for a topic to go with for the Rangers.
Yeah, I don't know how I can really answer this one. I'm sorry. I just
it's already kind of there. I think that it's one that we're going to be talking about for years. A forgotten great series was the Rangers Panthers of '97 with Esatikinen scoring.
Yeah, that was great for the Rangers. Yes,
it was great for the Rangers. It was a pretty good series in general. But I'm going to go out on a limb on this one. I'm going to buy around on this. I think regardless of which team wins, we're going to remember this as 2 of the best teams in the league going toe to toe. And look, there's still a lot more hockey left to be played because each team is guaranteed at least 120 minutes. So we'll see how it ends up. Hopefully it's one that one fan base could turn to the other and go, how about that series that you played against each other? Because I think there's a little bit lacking from the 2022 Rangers Tampa Bay series because the final 3 games were and everybody wants to discount the 2015 Rangers Lightning series. That was a great series. And I think that's what this is more resembling. So let's see what that looks like. I'll leave that one for Anthony. Well, I had one about Anders Lee right now. We'll skip that one. But this week, Columbus hired former Canes GM Don Waddell as president and GM. Don Waddell will get the Blue Jackets into the playoffs in 2 years.
this is another one that's just way too far out to project. Oh God! I have to go beer. This is way too far out to project. Way too far out.
Well, I like Fantilli. I like that they have another top 5 pick. I think there's talent there. I think they need to figure out, first off, does Johnny Gaudreau want to stay, or what to do with Patrick Laine. I do think that Pittsburgh and Washington getting worse is only going to help them, and the Flyers are going to get worse. I think the real question is, Phil, is there going to be a culture change there? And That's what they got to hope.
Okay, yeah, I mean I would understand asking if there's going to be a culture change, but I mean, I don't know. I don't really trust Waddell.
Yeah,
I don't. He didn't do the job in Atlanta. Didn't do the job in Carolina. In Carolina, he walked into a team that was already well put together, that had the pieces there. I mean, what exactly did he do to make that team any better than they already were?
Well, he offer sheeted Jesperi Kotkaniemi.
I mean,
That
I
was
don't.
sarcasm.
I don't know. I'm not high on Waddell. I'm not. It's maybe this is where he puts his career together and does something good for the Jackets, and yeah.
Because one thing guys, Phil has had a long day, so I mean, one thing I kind of don't buy, and there's this narrative, Phil. Oh, he couldn't do the job in Atlanta with that ownership situation. But that's not what was the problem with Marian Hossa for Danny Heatley. Like, that trade ended up not working out at all, and then they had to move on from him because Hossa
didn't want to stay.
So, I mean, and then you had to get rid of Kovalchuk. I think it was 2 years later they got rid of Kovalchuk.
Yeah, 2010.
And let's be honest about the Danny Heatley situation. There was extenuating circumstances from that. So I'm kind of left with what is exactly what his vision is whenever he builds a team. We're going to see. I guess we're going to see right here because he's going to have to take over. Well, a similar question is going to come right here, Phil, because Seattle hires former Penguins coach Dan Bilesma and former Sabres coach, by the way, to replace Dave Hackstall. Here's Bilesma's record: 252, 117, and 32, and a 2009 Stanley Cup. But he was 5 games below 500 with the Buffalo Sabres and never coached in a playoff game for them. Bilesma and Seattle are a playoff team next year.
Their roster makeup isn't great. Their goaltending still hasn't been good. Can they? Yes. Will they? I'm not sure. A lot may have to go right for them. Like, do I see Jared McCann scoring 40 goals again? No. Is Vince Dunn a legitimate 60 to 70 point defenseman? Not really sure. Do they improve their goaltending? Is Matty Beniers going to have another down year like he had this year after being the Calder winner? I don't think so. I think he comes back. I think that there's probably a big focus on him in the offseason to bulk up a bit and get it a little faster. And I think he works on a lot of things. But it depends on what they do in the offseason, too.
Mm-hmm.
We're not even at that point yet. So this is a lot of you're going to need to ask in probably about 3 months.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess you can go beer on that one. I'm going to go shot on this.
I'm going to have to go beer. It's really, if there was an incomplete option, I would probably have answered incomplete to just about every question you've thrown at me so far.
Well, it's like half the checks I deal with. Phil, I'm going to go shot on this. I'm not a big believer in Dan Bilesma. He's knocked for in-game adjustments being a problem. He won a cup with the 2009 Penguins, but they never made it back to the Stanley Cup final. And they made it back to the conference finals once in 2013, only to get swept by the Boston Bruins. Yeah. So it's one of those things. I'm not a bit, and then he never really saw real traction, I think, with Buffalo. Is that because of the roster makeup, or is it because he's a coach that has trouble making in-game adjustments? And I just don't know. I mean, maybe he learned a little something else. I mean, Dave Hackstall, He went from, I can't believe they're hiring to this guy to, oh my goodness, he's the coach of the year. And he fell short of that, but still, he did a remarkable job last year. I'm still a little surprised they got rid of him. I know that there was the problems in with the exit interviews, but we'll see about that. Last one for this one. San Jose Sharks signed 4th overall pick last year, Will Smith, and they're likely to select Macklin Celebrini. The Sharks will have 2 top 5 Calder Trophy finalists.
That's really tough to say. Really don't know what the rookie class is going to look like. Could you imagine that they're going to be there? I guess, yeah. I mean, anything can happen. We thought Alexi Lafreniere was going to come up, and he was going to be a guy that was going to go right for the Calder. That him and Kaprizov would be 2 guys that would be right at the top there. You know what? Again, I'm going to have to go Beater because I don't know. Like,
yeah, we don't know what the rookie class is.
Who else is coming up this year? Who else is really going to be, looking? I mean, there are other players from the NCAA that could sign deals. San Jose is also going to be a team that's going to be bad. Is he going to have any support around him to help him actually develop? Or are they just going, no, we're just going to run out a scorched earth team, have them get slaughtered again 6-3 every game, and they're going to be a team that really just doesn't put up any wins? If that's the case, is he really going to put up numbers? I mean, I don't know about Smith in terms of being NHL ready. I mean, I imagine the San Jose Sharks think he is, but is he even going to start with San Jose? Is he going to go play? I mean, he signed an entry-level deal, so, I mean, I don't think he can – no, because he's not a Canadian juniors player. No, he can't go – no, I'm not saying go back to college, but he can go to the AHL.
Yes, that's true.
He can go to the AHL, so if they don't – I mean, San Jose fired Quinn before he could screw Celebrini. Yeah, I mean, it's – yeah. Listen, I've watched this line play quite a bit between World Juniors and BC together and their national developmental team footage. And Smith is the dynamic player on there. Yes, I get it. But Perreault was the smarts, and Leonard was a lot of the physical aspects of that line. But I don't know if Smith steps in and all of a sudden puts up a bunch of points with nobody around him. Because who is supporting him in San Jose? Mikael Granlund?
Mm-hmm.
Is that really your support there? I mean, Tomas Hertl's gone. Timo Meyer's gone. Who else is there?
And God only knows the next time we're going to see Logan Couture. So that's another
Logan Couture is on the back 9 of his career and has been for a little bit.
Yeah. Although it feels like he's much younger still. You think he's older. He's been in this league a long time. I'm actually going to go on a limb. I'll buy around on this one, Phil. I think they're going to show up. I think they're going to be pretty good. But we're going to see about that one. And really, guys, that's all we have for the Bar Talk segment right now. Let's get back to talking about this this conference finals, because I know I'm being an apologist with some of these things, but I'm also trying to just keep on just letting everybody know it's right now the panic button is being pushed, and it's being pushed like we all need the morphine drip to come down, but it's not as bad as you think. I'll tell you that. Look, is it promising? Look, if the last couple of games, I wouldn't exactly be so confident, but Shesterkin's playing well, and they just need to score one more goal in the opposition. That's it.
Is this asking if because I trimmed my playoff beard? I've been trimming my beard. No.
Phil, that's for me. And I didn't trim my playoff beard, Fee.
Yeah, I was about to say. I mean, I've been trimming mine. I haven't worn any sort of certain outfits for games, like other superstitious things that I've done in the past, and they've gotten this far. So, listen, their big guys need to wake up. Is Panarin a point per game? Yes. Can he still give you more? Yes.
Yes.
I don't know if the Rangers are in deep shit. I really don't. Florida, Paul Maurice spewed this line in game one where he said, we didn't care about the matchups. Okay. You obviously do, because you kept putting on Barkov and all of them against the lines that you wanted them to play against.
Mm-hmm.
And you wanted them against the Benajad. You wanted them against that line. Okay. So if that's the case, if you really don't care about the lines, you wouldn't be making those matchups. He's not going to have that opportunity in games 5 and game 7 if it gets to game 7. So I tell you right now, we're going to see how much the Rangers can benefit from getting Mika Zibanejad and Chris Kreider away from that line tomorrow night.
I think their power play looking better in the first period last night is a good sign. And maybe they're starting to make some adjustments, and Adam Fox getting that assist also is pretty good. Did they hold on for dear life? Yes. Mark, you're being a realist about Quick, and many others have said there is zero carryover between playoff games. Yes, the Rangers should come out and mud stomp the Cats. We just don't know yet. I don't know about it. I don't know about it being a mud stomp.
I don't know about that.
This team is so good that they're playing. And I think I used the line that this is the toughest matchup since the 94 Devils for the New York Rangers in the playoffs.
Yeah.
But I used that for the Carolina series. This is back to back. You get Carolina and Florida. Like, this is nothing is easy in this series. Adam Fox is playing hurt, and he's been playing hurt the entire time.
Yeah.
Now, by the way, the one thing I'm glad about is nobody's saying that Jonathan Quick needs to come in and play. Which, by the way,
the first goal was really bad on Igor's part. He was cheating off the post a little bit, and he got caught.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and then the Verhaeghe goal was a puck that batted around up in the air. Honestly,
that's out of midair.
It's a puck that pops up.
Yeah.
And you normally, like, he's got to like have these things not pop up in the air like that. And can you really say it's been the scoring when they scored as many goals as they have? They score 5 goals in a game, and you're going to say the scoring is the issue?
That's why a lot of people that they keep on saying it's I keep saying tip your hat to Florida over anything else. This is just when you're going mano a mano like this. Matt saying, yeah, but Dallas had to go through Vegas and the Avs. Yeah, but I mean, Edmonton isn't those two teams.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing. Like, you gotta go through the good teams to win it all. And yeah, would it have been better if they were playing Boston? Yeah, I think they would have ran over Boston if they were able to go 2-2 against Florida in the first 4 games. I think they could have maybe swept Boston. So.
I think, and by the way, 399 is saying, I read on X that Sam Rosen is back on the radio tomorrow night. Look, first off, I have my troubles listening on ESPN, but that's a different story. But I think the one thing they need is a change, Phil. I think they need to send Trouba back down with Gustafsson.
Yeah, he cannot be on playing 20 minutes game anymore. Fox, I don't think is even at 75%. 75%.
Yeah, you could tell Fox is having trouble with his movement.
Yeah, I'm not saying the losses on Igor. I'm saying those couple of goals were not good. Like, I mean, the one thing I'm gonna spin this in a very positive way right now. The 2 games that they've lost in this series, Igor Shesterkin has given up bad goals in.
Yeah. Game one.
Think of it that way.
Game one, he wants that one back.
Yeah, I mean, well, don't even bother with that. John Radigan, I literally tuned out all that. I had to block Subban because I got tired of his garbage and nonsense. I've blocked so many Florida accounts that come up on my Twitter feed because they're crying over spilled milk when their guys are getting away with murder. It's enough. It's enough. And the ESPN narrative is completely ridiculous. You have Subban celebrating like his team just won the cup on the overtime goal. It's like, could you be any
Actually,
less?
I think it's because he won a parlay.
Yeah, I doubt that.
Yeah.
His comments have been so negative towards the Rangers over the years. It's not even funny. But I mean, even Butchergross, like some of his stuff has just been. I've gotten tired of it. I really have. It's, you know what? Let them be anti-Ranger. Let them be anti-this, anti-whatever. I don't care anymore. I'm tuning them all out. I might as well just watch the broadcasts with the audio off after a while. So.
Well, I don't think they're not really playing man-on-man defense, right? They're still.
They are, and that's the problem. You can't. They got to go back to their system. Florida creates a lot of chaos. What they've got to do is they've got to stick to a structure, and they've got to keep them away from the middle. And they can do that, and they have done that in this series. So if you can do that, you can beat this team.
And I just think there's the bad sect of any fan base. That's where you have to go with that. Because then you got the people that look. I get the people that are looking over and saying Trouba is the dirtiest player in the world, and then you see some of the stuff Ryan Lomberg has gotten away with. So it's
complete garbage how he did that to Jimmy VC, and there was just nothing, no suspension, nothing. I don't want to hear it from Panthers fans. I don't care.
But then again, oh, by the way, the one good thing is Subban has stopped singing the "I Love the Way You Sisterkin" song because that fit the right amount of syllables.
I'm not even sure of what that is.
Yeah,
I don't think I want to know.
In between periods, he used to sing, "I love the way you sisterkin, no diggity." So he got away from that. And then look, this is also where your sins are going to come back to you, PK Subban with the what he pulled on a couple different players, including Sammy Blais. But
I was very happy that Larry Brooks ripped him.
Yeah, but in any event, I mean, Roslovic has got a point in this series. Can't say the same for Kreider and Zibanejad. But
Roslovic has also been a complete liability away from the puck. That's the problem. The guy doesn't do anything defensively. He shies away from contact. It's bad.
Did it shock you seeing Matt Rampy on the ice with 4 minutes remaining in the third?
Yeah, because I didn't think that would happen, but I feel like he needs more ice time. You're like, he's one guy that's going out there and getting dirty and giving them energy, and you're not going to play this guy. I don't get it. He's proven that he can play, and I'm not saying he's like the greatest fourth liner ever or anything, but he's proven he can play.
Rick is saying right here on the Panthers chat, they're saying that ESPN is pulling for the Rangers.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, other than Marc Messier, and he's kind of calling it how it is. I mean, Steve Levy's done a great job with that, and I believe Steve Levy is a Rangers fan. So
no, I believe he's an Islander fan.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe that's why they're pulling. But why am I seeing Rampy is good on faceoffs?
He took a face off and won it. I don't understand what the. I don't know.
Yeah. I'm not sure on that one. But the fourth line has been the best one. Look, Rampy is going to build the crowd up. That's what 399 is saying right here. The crowd reacts off him a little bit differently. Look, the Rangers need to the Rangers need to come out because Florida's going to try to blitz them in the first period. Rangers got to score first tomorrow. I actually will firmly believe that one. But I also don't think Rampe's got the legs to be a center. Not in this league, not right now. No.
Well, you know what? You can always improve skating.
Jeff, I do. It's not really a whining on our part. We've already gone through all our stuff. But yeah, I've said before, kind of fortunate that it's 2-2. But
yeah, I don't know where you get off with this kind of stuff, but chill out, buddy. Chill out. You want to bait? Chill out. I'm giving you a warning.
Yeah, we'll get that. It's a little bit. This series is a lot closer than that, but just because they're throwing more pucks on net doesn't mean that they're winning the games. Because after all, that's why you got the goaltender there.
It's almost like there's context beyond shot attempts and all these other things. But hey, you know what? We're whining for whatever reason.
No, well, I've said that they've been lucky to get out of it, but I also think that there's been long stretches where the Rangers were playing better than the Panthers, and then sure, I'll give the Panthers game 3.
Every game has ebbs and flows.
Yeah, ebbs and flows. Game 2, it felt like the Rangers controlled the third period and overtime, though the Panthers had that one chance where was it OEL was down low at the end of the second period. I think it was still, and this is what, we need to adjust.
Yeah, Boyle's right. Boyle's absolutely right about this. I couldn't agree with him more.
And on the other hand, the Panthers are getting all 5 guys to converge on the puck carrier if it's along the boards, and they break out as a 5-man unit. Like I saw that a lot last night. So, Anthony, welcome back.
How's it going? I was watching some of that Bar Talk segment when I was driving before, and I was cracking up because some of these questions you asked Philk, I was just laughing. Like, how could you possibly answer these right now? Like the cracking about a playoff team. The offseason didn't even start yet. I mean, they could sign a bunch of people. They could not. You never know.
Do you think Dan Bosman is a good enough coach for them?
I mean, he's a guy. He's done a good job in the American League since he's been there. He wasn't great in Buffalo, but to be fair, Buffalo has been bad since the Stone Age, it seems. So, not going to hold that against them. Your Ranger Panther Bar Talk topic clarification on that. When you mean like legacy, are you like talking about like level of Red Wings Avalanche? Because if so, it's nowhere near that. So like,
no, well, that was a different series in general. What I mean is one that you're going to be talking about in 20 years.
Yeah, I don't know. I would say no because there's 3 overtime games, but I would say like hasn't been like a bloodbath. It hasn't like So it's too. That one's too hard to answer as well. I don't know about that.
Like for instance. Like, for instance, the 2014 series against the Penguins, I think that's one that still I could talk about until no end. But most of that really has to do with Game 7 and the Marty St. Louis OT winner. Sorry, not OT winner, the Mother's Day goal.
Like me, a legacy series would be like that Avalanche Red Wings series where Cicerelli said, I can't even believe I shook that guy's hand. Like, to me, that's like a legacy series, like something to that level.
But you would even say... But what I say, regardless of outcome, you would say the 21 series between the Islanders and the Lightning was incredible.
Yeah, it was really good. I mean, I wouldn't classify that again as a legacy series, but it was really good. It was good. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, if you're talking about it at that level, that's got to be a shot then at that point, because it's like you're talking about 2 classic series if you're talking about both of them from 96 and 97 with the Red Wings and Avalanche that really kind of spawned a full-on rivalry for years. I just don't think so. I don't know.
Like there aren't that many that really stand out. Like, I mean, the Red Wings Avalanche, I would say the Pittsburgh and the Philly series. It was the help me out here. It was the It was the year with
Are you
Keith
thinking?
Primo.
Are you thinking 2012?
2000. It was 99, 2000. Keith Primo's 5 overtime winner.
Yeah,
I thought
remember
that was a
game
great
vividly.
series. But what was your bar talk topic? I heard you mention about Lee that you wanted to say for me.
Oh yeah, well, I'll get to that one in 1 second. First, let's keep going with this one for a second, guys. Go top of your head. Name a playoff series when you think about it. You go, wow, that was a great series.
I mean, other than the ones
we just mentioned, name like 2 more.
Florida Tampa from 3 years ago, 2021 was a really, really fun series. That was a bloodbath. That was a hell of a battle. I remember watching that down in North Carolina when I went to go visit my family down there, and those games were highly entertaining.
I mean, to a lesser extent, Carolina versus Nashville at the same time. Like all those games went to overtime, and they were all rough. That's not one of the ones I'm referring to on this.
Another really good series that doesn't get talked about as much, but
maybe 2015 Rangers Capitals. That was a rough one.
That was a real good one.
Yeah, I mean, but I'm trying to think of one.
What about Red Wings Blues, where Yzerman scored the game-winning goal with that rocket as he crossed the blue line?
Yeah, that was a game 7 too.
Wayne Gretzky's final game is a blue on a turnover in his final play.
Turnover in the neutral zone that he had, and Yzerman went the other way with it.
John, this is a good one. The Boston Tampa Bay Conference Finals.
It's so funny because I posted a tweet last night that said that this series right here that we're watching was Alexis Lafreniere's Tyler Sagan's 2011 Conference Finals breakout series. We're seeing that same type of series from Alexis Lafreniere, like minus obviously the hat trick that Sagan had, but we're seeing a player break out in the middle of this series. He's getting there.
Chris T is going with Flyers Tampa 2004.
You know what? Flyers were in 2 really good series that year. Their series, Toronto.
Yeah, I was going to say Toronto, right?
And the one with Tampa was also the Tampa one was very good. I mean, you talk about the Stanley Cup Finals between Calgary and Tampa that year, and how that went to 7, and Marty St. Louis forcing Game 7 in Calgary. In Calgary in Game 6, forcing Game 7. That was a really I think the Tampa series may have even been a better series than the Stanley Cup Finals in that regard. That Philly series was a freaking war.
How about this one? Nordiques Canadiens 93.
Very good series. Very good series. It really put the Nordiques on the map. It's funny because the Nordiques at that time were really like a young up and coming team, and they had a great young core between Sakic, Sundin, Ricci, Foote, Kovalenko, Rachinsky, Valeri Kamensky was on that team. Scott Young was on that team. I mean, they had so many great young players, and they really proved that they were a team to be reckoned with in the future. But Montreal, they were just too good. They were too good, and they were too deep, and they had the guys and the experience. And then, they moved on, and they eventually won it all.
Yeah, LA and Chicago in the early.
Owen Nolan was another one on that team.
Yeah, Owen Nolan was on there. Yeah. I was thinking Red Wings versus Anaheim Ducks, but I don't know which one to go with. I think it was 97 and 2003 they played each other. Obviously, the 2003 was Jiggy.
2003 was a fun series. That was a really fun series, and Jaguar just. I mean, I know he had the illegal shoulder pads and whatever, but he took his game to another level. It's like you want to talk. I always think of like Jaguar and Bonds in the sense that they were definitely cheating a bit, but like they were still superhuman performances at those times. Just unreal.
Here's a good one.
That was a very good Western Conference Finals that year. That was.
Anthony, go ahead.
I said different discussion right now, but if you guys want to laugh, it pertains to the Rangers. I just scrolling on Twitter. I saw a tweet from Open Ice. It said in an interview with Ninja, which I don't know what Ninja is, but it said Brian Rust said he believes
the Rangers would have lost to the Penguins. Yeah, I saw that.
He believes the Penguins would have beat the Rangers.
One of the guys just commented on that.
Sometimes delusion is not the solution, buddy.
Yeah, I mean,
no,
I could appreciate Brian Ross, his pride in his team, but I mean, no, they wouldn't have beaten the Rangers.
Not at all. That's okay, Brian Rust. I would have volunteered to give you a spot, you and the Penguins a spot in the Eastern Conference Finals instead of Florida, and we could play that out and see how that would work if it was possible. I would gladly switch you guys with Florida.
Yeah, right now, let's do it. You can come on the blog. And matter of fact, if you want, take a lead pipe to Adam Fox's knee. You can try to finish off that knee, and I guarantee the Rangers still beat them. But here's one. This is the one I wanted to talk about before, Anthony, with you, because Anders Lee won the King Clancy Memorial Award for a player who best exemplifies leadership on and off the ice and makes a lot of humanitarian contributions to the community. Yeah. So, I mean, look, it's just so that way we could talk about him in a positive light, but Anders Lee is a top 5 captain in Islanders history.
Well, I mean, like Dennis, they haven't had that many captains, all things considered. I mean, I would say Dennis Potvin just is probably their best captain. I mean, one of the best defensemen of all time, had 4 Stanley Cups. So I would say he's easily their best captain. I mean, from there, it's kind of, what other 4 other captains would you say is a better captain than him? And also, how do you weigh that exactly? I mean, we're not,
that's my biggest thing.
Like we don't know what he's inside the room. And because you could talk about, on ice production, but there's more to being a captain than that. So it's like, Gillies was actually very briefly a captain, but
and so was damn it.
There haven't been that many memorable ones. I mean, like you talk like Brian McCabe and Trevor Linden were all captains at one point. I mean, Kenny Johnson was captain.
They were both captains in the same season too, and then Kenny Johnson, who literally he stepped down from being a captain
because the pressure.
2001.
Then would you say he's a better captain than Tavares?
I'm gonna, because of some of the guys like Linden and Johnson and McCabe and Yashin. I would say I would say Lee's probably top 5 just because. That many memorable, really good ones for a really long time. Pat Flatley. I mean, he was a good, he was a good Islander. But
Michael Pekka.
But Pekka was a captain for 3 seasons.
Yeah, very short, very short.
But they were all good.
Pekka was Pekka was captain from 01-02 to 03-04, and then the Islanders didn't bring him back after that. Kind of concerned about the knee injuries because his play kind of fell off after the Tucker hit. But they don't really have any great captains outside of Dennis Potvin. I think I'm not trying to slam the Islanders here, but the bar is okay. Ed Westfall was their first captain.
Yeah.
But that team was not good when Ed Westfall was captain. When Gillies took over the captaincy from Westfall, that's when they started to get better. And I'm not saying causation, correlation, anything like that. I'm not trying to slam Ed Westfall, but the team was still in its early stages. It was in its infancy at that point. So you can't really say Ed Westfall was a great captain. I mean, then again, like Anthony said, how do we know what these guys were like in the room? How do we know how respected they were amongst their peers? How do we know what they were able to do to motivate the team, or how good of the bridge were they between the team and the coaching staff and so on. Because that's
another
thing.
Yeah.
I would say by default, I mean, these three guys and then Lee and Tavares. I mean, there's no one. Doug Waite. I mean, very short. So yeah,
I mean, does Brent Sutter get in there over Westfall or Flatley?
That's another good one. Yeah, he was captain for a little bit.
I mean, why wouldn't Gillies be in there? Gillies was their captain at the dawn of really when they. Yeah. I mean, for me, I mean, I look at the lists of their captains, and I know Westfall was the captain for the first 5 seasons, and they were not a great team during this time. Like, I don't know. I get why people would say Westfall, but then again, I wasn't around for that. So who am I to sit there and say
Flowey was the captain in '93, correct?
Flatley. I'm pretty sure it was Flatley.
Yeah, because I think Flowey had the longest tenure outside of
he was
Otvin.
Yeah, Turgeon was never captain of the Islanders.
Yeah, you think it would be Turgeon. It wasn't. You thought LaFontaine would be. He never was.
No, he never was.
No.
He always wore an A.
Yeah.
I mean, to kind of circle back to it, I would say I would say Lee's done. I mean, I would say he's in the convo. He's in the conversation. He's certainly a great guy. I know that. I mean, the work he does with the Can Jam charity, which I participated in this past summer, and I won the tournament. I mean, he's really a great guy. He's so down to earth. He's great in the community. So in that regard, yeah, he's great. I do think he's a great leader, but it is when you're kind of weighing captains, it's really hard. Even like when you're trying to say who's like, who the top 5 best captains in the whole NHL. It's like you don't really know, because you can't go strictly by points, because that's not really what a captain is about.
No.
So even that's hard to answer. I mean, by default, Crosby comes to mind just because of who he is, but to judge what makes a guy a good captain, it's difficult.
I would say a little bit of what they mean to their community as what Lee does. But I think one thing we're kind of discounting, and we haven't mentioned with Anders Lee, the job that he had to do as a captain after, Marc Streit.
I totally forgot about Marc Streit.
Wow, yeah, I forgot he was a captain too. That's crazy.
You forgot about Marc Streit. You forgot about Doug Waite. You forgot about Bill Guerin, who were all captains. But the job that Lee had to take over being a captain right after Tavares left for Toronto, and the whole letter and everything else we know. But this is where it's one of those things. Sometimes you're presented this hard situation. That team really banded together, and I think some of it had to do with Lou, some of it had to do with Trotz. We just lost Anthony, but some of it had to do with all those things. They come together and they end up. I get
it. It's rough to say though, because of the fact that like the bar is kind of low with them
and high at the same time. You go Potvin, then it's everyone else.
Well, no, I mean, I wouldn't say the bar's high there though, then, because it's just one guy and then everybody else is kind of just okay. Like, but then again, I'm with Anthony on this. This is really hard to quantify. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm guessing that like overall like record and then success in the playoffs would have something to do with this. I mean, John Radigan pointed out that Westfall's last 2 years they were within the Final Four teams. I mean, yeah, that's great, but they didn't do anything though. I just.
And by the way, you could get the Ranger fans that can all agree with you on this. That small piece of fabric weighed a lot on Brian Leetch.
Yeah, it did. I think part of that though was because of the fact that they should have given it to Wayne Gretzky or Adam Graves. And then the team also was constructed so poorly after Messier left that they whipped on Sakic and they settled for LaFontaine. lowballing Messi. Well, not really lowballing because that contract did not work out for Vancouver at all. So the Rangers actually, that was one of the better moves they made, not giving Messier that deal. It does weigh a lot. You're right. It does. Like when I think about the Rangers and I think about Ranger captains, I think of Messier, and then I have a very hard time thinking of anyone else that really comes close to him. Really, you got to think about it. Like, who else really? There's not a lot of great Rangers captains over the years that have really done it. Like, are you going back to like the Bill Cook days? Like
Callahan.
Well,
I would say Callahan was a great captain.
There's a lot of players that were saying otherwise in reports.
Like Phil Esposito, like Barry Beck. Like, I mean, thinking about the guys, like Jaromir Jagr was a captain for 2 seasons. Chris Drury was a captain for 3 seasons. Callahan then for 3 seasons. Ryan McDonough. Like, are we?
Problem is there aren't guys with a lot of staying power. Anthony, who do you got as the answer in this one?
The answer to this is neither. If the Islanders move on from Anders Lee, I think the next captain is going to be Bo Horvat.
I agree with you 100%.
I'm almost certain of that. I don't think it would go to Barzal Dobson. He was a captain in Vancouver. His short time on the island, you could really tell he's a leader out there. So I would say he would be the choice for sure.
Yeah, I've got to agree with that, or maybe Brock Nelson. I don't see Barzal as a captain. I just don't, and I'm not trying to slam Barzal. A lot of guys just don't have that C in them.
And but also the contract does have something to do with it. That you could talk about
Jeff Odgers was once the captain.
Jeff Odgers? What?
Yes.
Really?
Atlanta.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, so wasn't Kelly Bushberger a captain in Atlanta? Sometimes.
Yeah. Well, it captaincy it's not contract. It's not always best player. There's some times where there are captains that just there are guys that for whatever reason.
I mean, wasn't Florida's captain a couple of years ago Sean McKenzie?
Jim, I don't think he had a C.
McKenzie, I think.
But how about Eric Fair? I think he was a captain for a little while in Washington.
No, he wasn't a captain in Washington.
He wasn't? All right.
No, I don't think. Ovechkin had – so before Ovechkin had it, I think it was Chris Clark.
You got me thinking on that one. Now I got to find out.
Yeah, I think it was Chris Clark. And then Ovechkin. Let's see here. Yeah. So
Derek. Sorry to cut you off, Derek. I said the wrong first name.
Derek McKenzie, right?
Derek McKenzie. Yeah,
that's what I thought.
Yeah, which is weird.
Ovechkin's had it since 2010, 2011 full time. Chris Clark gave it to Alexander Ovechkin in 2009, 2010. Jeff Halpern had it in 2005, 2006. Steve Konowalchuk had it from 0102, where him and Brendan Witt kind of.
Yeah, I was about to say Brendan Witt had it too.
For a very short time.
Yeah.
And then Adam Oates had it for 2 seasons after taking it from Dale Hunter, who had it for 5 seasons.
But again, when it comes to Horvat, he's got the leadership skills, and I think there'll be a seamless transition if you go from Lee to Horvat.
Yeah, I think it would go pretty well if they make that move. Some guys just have it in them. They're leaders. Like Phil said, he's not disparaging Matt Barzal when he says I don't see him as a captain. I don't think he's captain material either. That doesn't mean there's anything wrong with that. It's just some guys like Kenny Janssen couldn't take the pressure of being the captain, and he played so much better when it was removed. So, some guys,
and then you get other guys like Joe Sakic who just aren't the vocal guys.
But Joe Sakic is regarded as one of the greatest leaders in NHL history.
Yeah.
I mean, there's Steve Yzerman, who was a captain a very long time in Detroit, and he was questioned on whether or not he could win the big one or not. And then he finally did it after buying into Scotty Bowman. I was going to say, there are certain guys when you look at them and you watch them play, they have that it factor to them. They have it in them to raise their game and their levels. That's why I continuously talk about Alexis Lafreniere and Wyatt Johnston. I think Wyatt Johnston's going to be Dallas' captain one day. I do. He is such a gamer. He is such a great player. Lafreniere, I think, will be captain of the Rangers one day. He was captain of Rimouski. He was captain at all junior levels for Canada's junior team and won gold at the U20s as captain and was a 2-point per game player in that tournament. I mean, Jonathan Toews is another one. You can say whatever you want about Jonathan Toews and the whole Blackhawks thing, and I'm not going to get into that. But Jonathan Toews has been a leader at every level he's played at. He helped lead Canada to the World Junior Gold in 2007, that epic shootout. And he was another one. 3 Stanley Cups, a Conn Smythe. I mean, that's a lot. Dave Keon for Toronto, Keon. But Keon was regarded as a great captain by many.
Anthony, who are some of your favorite captains you had that you watched growing up? Doesn't necessarily have to be an Islanders because we detailed all those guys.
Like Matt Sundin. I was a fan of him and how he always played. Steve Yzerman, who we just mentioned before, right after Sakic. I like Steve Yzerman. Nick Lidstrom. I always admired Nick Lidstrom. I think he's one of the better captains too when he comes to it. Great person, great leader. Quiet, but his play on the ice certainly
first
spoke
ever
for
European captain to win the cup too.
Yeah. Those are just some of them that come off the top of my head.
Nobody said one of my favorites, Paul Kariya. Loved watching.
I like Paul Kariya a lot as a player. I thought, considering the team, the way it was constructed and the lack of depth that they had, I thought Kariya was incredible. I mean, I like Steve Ruchin, and this is not a shot at Steve Ruchin.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that Steve Ruchin would probably say it himself that he probably didn't belong on that line with him. It's a lie. They had chemistry, but yeah, you know what? This is going to be one of my favorites right here, Shane Doan.
Shane Doan, yeah.
I always thought that Shane Doan handled them, not even just on the ice, but just the way he handled himself as such a humble human being and player. And I watched Brendan Perlini talk about some of the greatest players, that the nicest guys and best leaders and everything that he played with or against. And he had nothing but great things to say about Shane Doan. Like, he gushed about Shane Doan on his YouTube channel. You can go look his up. It's just his name, Brendan Perlini. He played in the NHL for a while. He was a first-round pick. Jerome Iginla is another one of my favorites.
Oh, Iginla, yeah.
Yeah, like, how could you not love Iginla? Like, even though he never won a cup, like, he was just everything you wanted in a hockey player. Skilled, sniper, could make plays, 50-plus assists in a season, 50-plus goals in a season. He could fight. He was a leader. He was a gold medal winner for Canada. I mean, he is just incredible. There's just so much of a fire in Iginla. Love Iginla. I loved Sakic and Yzerman. Those were two of my favorites growing up. I do think that if Peter Forsberg didn't play with Sakic in Colorado, I think that he would have been a captain elsewhere for a very long time. And Peter Forsberg, I know he never was a captain, but he should have been somewhere else. Modano was never a captain until later on in Dallas, and they were. I liked him as an A. Darian Hatcher had the C in Dallas when they won. But Modano was I think Modano was a better player as an A, but I also think that if he would have gotten the C earlier, you could make a better argument for Modano.
Forsberg was never captain with the Flyers?
With the Flyers, yeah, but his career was pretty much almost done by that point.
Yeah.
He was well in the back nine of his career.
Yeah. All right. Well, Phil, I'll ask you the difficult question. Who wins tomorrow night?
I gotta go with the Rangers. I mean, I gotta believe that they're gonna come back and win after this. I don't think they're gonna come out with as bad as an effort as they did in the latter parts of that game. I think they're going to learn from their mistakes, and I think Peter Laviolette's going to make a adjustment.
All right. Yeah, I got to think that Laviolette's got an adjustment up his sleeve. There's a stat that's been running around Twitter, and I think one of our supporters actually brought it up. I can't remember who did it right now, that the Rangers lost their last 5 game 5s, tied 2-2.
That boy Steven posted this on Twitter. Yeah.
Trend's got to break sooner or later. There's already a trend that's going to break in this series. It's either going to be a Stanley Cup final loser getting back to the finals in the next year, or it's going to be the President's Trophy winner getting back to the Stanley Cup. That's just how simple that is.
Yeah.
All right. But guys, we have definitely run out of some gas, and we're going to call it a night right here. Great to have 110 of you watching us right now. Make sure you are subscribed and you left us a like for tonight. And hey, hopefully regardless, tomorrow night I'll do a post-game show no matter what. And we'll see how the series is going to be very soon. So, Phil, last word.
Gotta believe.
Old Tug McGraw line. All right. I'll see you guys later.